everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Here.
Mr. Franco.
I'm here.
Mr. Cabrera.
I'm here. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, notice requirements have been satisfied as to the time, place, and date of holding said meeting by posting notice here in the bulletin board in Borough Hall and by mailing and emailing the same to the Herald of Cape May County and the Press of Atlantic City on October 13, 2021. In the event of an emergency, your emergency exit is the back door, the way you came in, or your front left or our front right. Okay, I believe I have a couple other quick announcements. This meeting is being shown live here today on Facebook and also on Wildwood Crest YouTube channel. Anyone that wants to make a comment who is watching this meeting remotely, you can use the dial-in conference line, which is right here in front of us, by dialing 888-363-4734. And then when you're prompted, you're going to enter the access code 969-9020, followed by the pound or the hashtag. In the event you watch the recorded version of this meeting and you have questions or you want to make a comment, you're welcome to email our clerk at clerk@wildcrest.org, or you may call 609-729-8040. Seeing that we have no ordinances on the agenda for tonight, I'm going to move up the public safety reports so these fine gentlemen can get back to work. We'll start it off with the Beach Patrol report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. My name is Vic Murphy. I'll be giving the Beach Patrol report. 2022 Wildwood Crest Lifeguard coverage every day, reminder from 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. That's weather permitting, and that will continue through until Sunday after Labor Day, which is September 11th. Handicap transport service is 11 to 4 whenever lifeguards are on duty. We also have surf chairs that are available at headquarters on Rambler Road, and those are accessible from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. as well. Our surfing beaches this year, for those of you that may not know, we have 2 surfing beaches, Rambler and Primrose, and also Astor Cardinal. Those surfing beaches are all day. We also have a surfing beach that's open from 10 to noon, and that surfing beach is on Hollywood and Topeka. We have a futures program, which is basically a middle road between our junior lifeguards and becoming an actual lifeguard. It's been a good recruiting process for us. It includes grades 9 through 10. That program will finish on Wednesday, July 27th, and this year we had 30 kids participate in that particular program, so we're excited about that. The junior lifeguard program is grades 4 to 8. That will finish on Thursday, July 21st. They actually went to the water park today for a day of enjoyment. We have 150 children enrolled in that particular program this summer. Wildwood Crest Beach Patrol hosted the 38th Annual Cape May County Lifeguard Championships on Friday, July 8th. Avalon Beach Patrol took the county title from 2-time defending champion Wildwood Crest. But we are happy that someone new has had a chance to stand at the top of the pedestal. If there are any questions whatsoever, concerns, please call our number at headquarters, which is 609-522-3825. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Public, any questions?
Excuse me, Mr. Tim, there's chairs up here if you want to sit.
I'm used to standing, Judge.
First in the class.
Anybody have any questions for the Beach Patrol? Everybody, any questions?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, let's ask Mr. Harwood.
What's up today?
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners, or afternoon or evening tonight, yes, whatever it is right now. The following reports for the month of June, we're going to start out with the fire department. We responded to 49 alarms, 2 fires, 1 overpressure explosion, 10 EMS or rescue assists, 8 hazardous condition gas leaks or CO detectors, 2 service calls, 7 good attempts, 19 malfunction alarms for a total of 49. We had a total of 16 members per call out of 28. And we had 2 mutual aids to the city of Wildwood for work and structure fires. Moving over to the EMS department, medical had 171 calls for the month of June, 66 transported to the hospital, 41 refused care, 21 recalled or canceled, 43 fire standbys. We had 6 mutual aids from the city of Wildwood, and we gave 4 to North Wildwood for mutual aid. We gave 8 to the city of Wildwood and 11 to Lower Township for mutual aid. We're going to move on to also emergency management. Nothing happened in the month of June. It's just progress there right now. We had some stuff in July, which I'll report next month. Moving into the Fire Inspection Bureau. Fire Inspection Bureau did 584 inspections, 133 re-inspections, 13 life hazards, 9 re-inspections on life hazards, 3 follow-ups for a total of 742 inspections. We sent out 237 notice of violations and 101 certificates of inspection. We did 8 smoke detector certs for the month of June. Under the Housing Bureau, we did 216 units were inspected. We had 2 re-inspections. And that does my report for the month of June.
That is
That was
record
quick.
time. That was
It is
She told me record time.
Wow.
Any questions?
Public, any questions?
Guys do a good job.
Thanks, Ron.
Chief Lloyd, last but not least.
Put the pressure on.
Yes.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, audience. I'm just going to hit some highlights for my June report to the Commissioner of Public Safety. In the month of June, we had 2,863 calls for service. 673 of those were criminal investigations, 503 service calls, 474 motor vehicle stops, 137 traffic summonses issued. We had 529 property checks, 185 training hours, and for arrests, we had 32 adult arrests, 1 juvenile arrest, and 9 DWI arrests. Our arrests are up from last year, but what concerns me the most is the DWI arrests. Considering or comparing last year to this year, we are 3 times higher this year for the this period of time. There's just too many safe options for people out there. There's no reason to put others and the public in jeopardy and drive intoxicated. So let's figure out a different way to get home, if we could, please. We have a couple special events coming up. The borough is hosting Christmas in July this Saturday, July 23rd from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. along Sunset Lake. There will be road closures along New Jersey Avenue between Rambler Road and Louisville Avenue. Please plan for detours and possible traffic delays. Also, National Night Out is taking place Tuesday, August 2nd at Centennial Park from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. There will be a movie immediately following at Centennial Park. All are welcome and encouraged to come and see us out there. So, please. There have been a few complaints coming to both, the commission and myself about some safety issues. Some also local ordinance violations and traffic violations across town. We're going to be addressing a lot of these with some heavy enforcement. Some of them include pedestrians and crosswalks. I do want to clarify that. It is the law that a motor vehicle has to stop and yield to someone that has entered a crosswalk and is crossing the street. But it also, in the law, states that that pedestrian cannot just enter the intersection or that crosswalk without first ascertaining that the intersection is safe. So we both pedestrian and motor vehicles have to understand, one, if somebody is in the crosswalk, you have to yield to them if you're in a motor vehicle. Two, if you're a pedestrian, you cannot just walk out into the middle of traffic without looking to make sure that the roadway is safe before you enter. Also, speeding. Most of this island, or most of Wildwood Crest, is 25 miles an hour. It's not 30 miles an hour. It's not 35 miles an hour. It's 25 miles an hour. The officers will be out there making motor vehicle stops and issuing summonses if need be. Along Sunset Lake, between Rambler and Miami Avenue, on New Jersey Avenue, the speed limit is 20 miles an hour. Not 25 miles an hour, not 30 miles an hour, not 35 miles an hour. It's 20 miles an hour. Please keep that in mind. Bicycles. Bicycles have to follow the same traffic laws as motor vehicles. You cannot ride against traffic. You cannot ride the wrong way on a one-way street. You cannot run a red light. You have to follow the same traffic laws as a motor vehicle. Low-speed vehicles. These vehicles have to be registered. They have to have seatbelts. If you have a child that is required to be in child restraints in your motor vehicle, they have to be in child restraints in your low-speed vehicle. Please keep that in mind. Electric and motorized bicycles on the bike path. They are not permitted on the bike path. Neither are skateboards. The borough just installed signs down on the bike path to remind residents and pedestrians that those are not permitted, and we will be enforcing that, so please keep that in mind. Open containers of alcohol in public. It is not permitted anywhere in the borough, in the public, to walk around with a beer or some type of open container. Please, they need to remain on private property. Do not be surprised if you get stopped if you're walking around with a beer in your hand. Dogs on the beach and unleashed dogs, both on the beach and around town. Currently, we have an ordinance. You cannot have dogs on the beach during the summertime. You cannot walk your dog without having it leashed anywhere in the borough. So please keep that in mind. To address some of these issues, not only will officers be conducting heavy enforcement actions, we will also be putting out plainclothes officers doing directed enforcement action on some of these violations. You will most likely not see these officers, but they will be looking for these violations and communicating with uniformed patrols to make a stop when a violation is observed. We will be pushing out informational postings on some of these violations on our social media and website, so please keep an eye out for them and share them with your family and friends. Any questions?
Everybody, any questions for Chief Lloyd?
Sir. Do I ask him just from here, or do I introduce?
You just need to give your name and address for the record.
Mike Garaguso, 318 East Pittsburgh Avenue.
Okay.
A few ones. I'm sure everybody in here, do you have any different, I'm not saying this is wrong, just, the law about cars stopping so people can cross the street, but does anybody, have a difficult time, as we're driving to see, there's so much action for the driver to pay attention to, that seems kind of silly, because you're right, people do walk right down, and it's very dangerous. But when I was a little kid growing up, my mom and dad used to tell me, look both ways before you cross the street.
Correct.
Well, the pedestrians, they're basically not doing that, and it's very hard for the driver in the summer, because they're where the cars park, just coming to a stop sign. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm small. I have to inch out just to look to make triple sure, is anybody down there coming? So I'm not so sure what we can do about that. Probably nothing, except that law, but I just wanted to bring that to the attention. I find that difficult. The second one is about the electric bikes. I have an electric bike. I'm 64 years old. I was diagnosed with cancer, and my blood counts are to the point where it's difficult to ride a regular bike and pedal. My grandkids are here all the time, all summer. Where would you like me to ride my bike with my kids?
Well, actually, you can only ride it in the roadway.
So that's more. I'm not. Listen, I support everybody's work. You're all dedicated, but that's safer than the 2 bike paths that we have. Why can't you have 1 bike path for the bikes? For the adults that drive. You're right, I've been on the boardwalk, and these people, the kids with the scooters, they're insane. I get it.
Well,
But what if you're a mature adult that knows how to ride a bike? I'm just
Well,
asking.
unfortunately, we can't allow just the mature adults to ride on the bike path with their electric bikes and not the immature
No,
adults.
but you have 2 bike paths.
Well, I mean, that's something that the government body can
Well,
take
that's
into
why I'm here. I'm
consideration.
trying to
but-
ask. I'm just curious.
But going back to the crosswalks, yes, it's difficult right now for everybody to get around, both vehicles and pedestrians. But the law makes sure that both are responsible for whatever they're doing. So if you're walking, you are responsible to check that intersection before, just like your
Oh, I
parents
know.
told you. Look left, look right,
I
make
know.
sure that the intersection is clear before you enter the crosswalk. Vehicles, if you're traveling and somebody has entered the crosswalk, you must yield to them and allow them to continue.
I know, I just
crossing.
think it's always difficult for anybody but me, trying to
It's-
see. Because
it's-
everybody, I'm the only one.
It's very difficult in the summertime,
It is.
both with the parking and the volume of traffic.
But I'm supposed to ride on the street now with my grandkids in the back?
On your electric bicycle?
Yes.
Sure.
Really? And that's safer? Okay. I will disagree with that, but other people might not. Listen, maybe nobody even rides a bike. They could care less what I'm bringing up. I get it. But I love riding my grandkids. Love it to death.
I'm-
And I do it every single morning.
Chief, can
I don't blame
comment
you.
a second?
Sure.
Sir, you can't imagine the number of complaints I'm receiving from adults that are walking just from the street across to go to the beach. Responsible people are few and far between, unfortunately, and I blame our school a little bit for, and not just our school district, and I mean that, but totally all the schools. They don't teach stop, look, listen. So we were talking, and the best solution before somebody got hit with one of these bikes was to do what we're doing and enforce. If that helps you any.
Well, I'm just gonna, it's gonna, I just feel right now, it's much more dangerous for me to ride in the middle of the street. That's
Well, we
what
do
I-
have the
that's my
bike lanes.
opinion.
We have
Pardon
the
me?
bike lanes that run through town.
I'm not allowed to use the bike lanes I just said.
The
No,
bike,
no.
the
The
bike
bike
path.
path.
The concrete bike path along the beach.
Oh, you mean where the
From-
beach is?
Yes.
Oh,
From,
sorry, disregard everything. I take everything I said
Never
back,
mind.
you're right. There are lunatics on that road.
from Rambler to Cressy Avenue.
I'm in
that-
support,
Thank you, sir.
sorry.
Those bike lanes are
I
actually
left
for
the
you.
beach for this. Oh my God. All right. Bike paths are perfect. I mean, a bike, what do you call it? Bike lane.
The bike lane in the roadway, yes, that is for
That's
you,
what-
that's specifically for you and other bicyclists, yes.
Sorry.
I hope you feel safe again, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm at peace.
Anybody else? Any more questions for Chief Lloyd? Conference line, anybody on the line? Hearing none, thank you, Chief.
Of course.
Thank you, Chief. Thank
All
you,
right,
sir.
so if you're following along on the agenda, so item number 12 was the public safety report. You can cross that off, so we've already done that. We'll move right to resolutions. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. The first is urging swift passage of S 330, which restores energy tax receipts to municipalities.
Motion?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing expenditure to purchase 3 double-sided signs with electronic message center for Recreation Center and Crest Arts Pavilion under the Hunterdon County Cooperative Purchasing Program.
Motion?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing award of contract to Cape May County Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, Inc., known as Cape Assist, for Employee Assistance Program.
Motion?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing award of professional services contract to the Lomax Group for specialized engineering and environmental consulting services for CAFRA required habitat evaluation mitigation services for Study A, bike path expansion, Cressy Avenue to Rambler Road, and Study B, street end bump outs, Rambler Road to Jefferson Avenue.
So moved.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing Borough Engineer work order for the Von Savage Pool and roof improvements at the not-to-exceed sum of $40,000.
Motion.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff. Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing amendment to the 2022 municipal budget to account for additional funding from the Federal Emergency Management Agency for the Flood Mitigation Assistance FMA program grant.
Motion.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing and directing the planning board to conduct a preliminary investigation to establish a redevelopment area within the borough of Wildwood Crest, County of Cape May, State of New Jersey.
Motion.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes. Madam Clerk, can we hold that right now? I see our special counsel, Mr. Maley, in the audience. Do you mind giving the governing body and the public just an overview on that,
Sure, be
on the
happy to.
purpose and the benefits to Wildwood Crest on that redevelopment zone?
Sure, thing, be happy to. Jim Maley, law firm Maley and Gibbons, redevelopment counsel for Wildwood Crest. This is the beginning of a process looking at an area along New Jersey Avenue from Wisteria Road to Heather Road that is part of a major county undertaking to redo a road. That's one of the reasons why this area has been selected. Redo the street and do some streetscaping there. This is an opportunity to look at designating it an area in need of redevelopment. I point out very specially, this is a non-condemnation redevelopment area, so that power will not come to the town with that designation. And what this designation does is basically give a flexibility to the usual municipal rules that will allow the town, the governing body, to work with any current building owners, any people purchasing properties, any developers in the area, to help them encourage improvements to the property, new businesses in the area, to help spur a redevelopment along that area to improve all of it. So it makes everything a little bit easier to address needs of the property owners and developers that may be coming in that area, and gives a greater ability to assist them in a lot of different ways. Okay?
Thank you. And just
Sure.
for clarification, the area that is in question is Heather. You did Heather to Wisteria.
Wisteria,
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. All right. And the planning board also has, I believe, will also have a similar resolution or a similar action item.
They'll have a
on
public hearing September 7th.
September 7th.
September 7th.
September
Yes,
7th.
there'll be notices to all the property owners in that area about the public hearing in September.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Mayor.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Maley? Everybody?
No, sir.
None? Okay. I know you have a long trip back to Collingswood, but you're welcome to go if you want. but-
Oh, I will, that's fine. I'm love to stay and listen to everything, but
All right, Madam
Ready?
Clerk, go ahead.
Okay, next is authorizing the solicitor to prepare and file a motion to intervene for the construction and operation of the Ocean Wind 1 Qualified Wind Project, BPU docket number Q0220500347.
Motion for that?
second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Lastly is authorizing a revocable licensing agreement and waiver of encroachment between the Borough of Wildwood Crest and A&DV LLC, doing business as Bandana's Restaurant.
Motion.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Motion that all bills properly authorized as submitted be paid.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that all bills properly authorized as submitted be paid. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Motion that all reports received from the court administrator, chief financial officer, tax collector, chief of police, supervisor for the recreation department, construction official, emergency services coordinator for the EMS and the Wildwood Crest Volunteer Fire Company chief for the month ending June 30th, 2022 be accepted as presented.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded that all reports received from the court administrator, chief financial officer, tax collector, chief of police, supervisor for the recreation department, construction official, emergency services coordinator for the EMS, and the Wildwood Crest Volunteer Fire Company chief for the month ending June 30th, 2022 be accepted as presented. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Motion that all minutes from the regularly scheduled commission meeting dated May 25th, 2022 and July 6th, 2022 be approved as presented.
Second that.
It has been moved and seconded that all minutes from the regularly scheduled commission meetings dated May 25th and July 6th, 2022 be approved as presented. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to item number 10 on our agenda, Administrator's Report.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. For ongoing and upcoming projects, the beach end bump outs, we were approved previously for $2.5 million in open space funding to construct 11 beach bump outs. Our engineer is not with us this evening. He's ill, but he is currently preparing bid documents to get ready to go out to bid for this particular project, which will probably be constructed late fall. So that's our next phase for the beach bump outs. Pacific Avenue Phase 1 is now completed by the county, and Phase 2 will commence after Labor Day. That will be in the southernmost portion of the borough of Wildwood Crest and into Lower Township, and that will complete the Pacific Avenue reconstruction. The Hertford Inlet to Cape May Inlet Beach and Dune construction, there was just recently an article in the Atlantic City Press about that. As of today, Coastal Engineering, that is a branch of the DEP, is still working with Wildwood and Lower Township on their state aid agreements. It does look likely that that Dune project will not commence until 2024 at this time. It does keep getting delayed, but there are a lot of acquisition and easements that need to be had, and that's going to take the better part of 18 months. So it does look like 2024. We already reported on New Jersey Avenue. There will be a September 7th planning board hearing for the redevelopment that Mr. Malley just spoke of. Sunset Lake State Channel dredging. I did attend a meeting today with the Wildwoods, all of the leaders of the Wildwoods, and we're working with the Department of Transportation in the state of New Jersey, their Division of Maritime Resources, to get our state channels dredged in the area. There is a state channel that goes through Sunset Lake and traverses all the way to the marina at Schooner Island and then beyond into North Wildwood and Wildwood. And we are currently meeting with those agencies, and we will have the state channels dredged within the next few years. The Wildwoods will probably have their dredging commenced prior to us because the location of the material disposal site that they identified today is close to them. Ours is going to take a land acquisition through the state, and it's all paid for by the state, but that will take some time. So we will probably see it in the second part of that project, which would be in about 2 years. But I know Commissioner Franco has been attending a lot of meetings and is really adamant about getting this project underway, and it will be funded by the state for the state channel. Capra applications. In an ongoing effort to remain compliant with the state's coastal management rules, the borough is working on 2 separate Capra applications and permits. The first permit seeks to permit the Beach Patrol storage adjacent to the Beach Patrol headquarters. We did request a 30-day extension on that, so we should be hearing within the next few weeks on the outcome of that permit request. And then we have a second IP permit that would permit dune and beach maintenance activities, which are routine, bike path improvements north of Rambler, the widening of pedestrian access throughout the dunes that traverse through out to the beaches north of Rambler, the old library site improvements, which is now known as the Crest Arts Pavilion, which would include expanded parking. We would need CAFR permit to do that, and some water main looping that would increase water capacity at the ends of some of the roadways where they're dead ends. So we are working on that currently, and we should have that out shortly to the DEP. The old library renovations, now called the Crest Arts Pavilion. We did have a progress meeting last week, and the one big item we're waiting on is a nano door that is expected to come in mid-August, along with an electrical panel. That is really holding it up. There's no power to the building at this time. Those 2 items are relative to supply chain issues that are going on throughout the country. We do expect to open that facility in 2023 and have it complete. We are also going out for Cape May County Open Spaces money for a second phase to that project, which would include the site improvements, including parking, which is part of the CAFR permit that we're applying for now. So we'll keep you posted on that. During the excavation of the parking lot at the Crest Arts Pavilion, it was discovered that there was a 1,000-gallon heating oil tank that was never emptied and was there for the last 20-some years. In accordance with regulations, the tank was removed immediately. It was emptied, and the tank was taken by our remediation experts. The soil and the groundwater surrounding it was tested and reported to the state as required. And now we're in the process of having our licensed state remediation professional remediate the ground in that area. So we may have to remove some soil and replace it with clean soil and then retest. So they put in a few well points. We do expect that to be a pretty quick undertaking, and it would happen after Labor Day so as not to interfere with local businesses and create a lot of noise. But it is not a large contamination by any means. It's quite small. Public Works property acquisition. So the borough just closed on a property at 117 West Jefferson on Friday. The parcel of land adjoins the Public Works yard and was purchased for $200,000 at the recommendation of our Public Works superintendent. It was previously owned by the borough and is needed to accommodate our borough equipment. So you will see major improvements in future years at that site, and this parcel will allow us to do that and house our trash trucks and things like that, and it would be less intrusive to the neighbors because they would be properly housed, and it would cut down on the noise and intrusions. And that is all I have.
Okay. Governing body, any questions for Connie?
Thank you, Connie.
Thank you, Connie.
Public, any questions for our administrator? Anybody on the conference line have any questions for our administrator? Hearing none, we're going to move right to our engineer's report. I believe Mark de Blasio, you're on the line, correct?
Yes, can you hear me, Mayor?
I can hear you.
Okay, just have a couple of items to add to Connie's report. The first item is we completed the structural evaluation of the Lifeguard building, and we found that the building was structurally sound. There were a couple of minor structural issues that need to be attended to, but that would be incorporated into the bid documents for the overall renovation. So contingent upon the results from the NJDEP JD, the project is on target to be completed and advertised for public bid in late September. So if we get a clean bill of health in terms of not needing a CAFRA permit, that would be our time frame. If we need a CAFRA permit, that will obviously push that back. The borough's fiscal year 2023 NJDOT Municipal Aid application for the reconstruction of Orchid Road from Ocean Avenue to Pacific Avenue was successfully submitted to the DOT the last week of June. We're hopeful that we're going to get a positive response to that application later on in the year. Next item, we continue to work on the following capital projects: reconstruction of Syracuse Avenue, the beach bump out phase 2, which I would call the final phase of the beach bump outs, and as Connie mentioned earlier, the beach CAFRA permit. I guess it's phase 2 or 3, has a cornucopia of improvements in it. Last item to report on is we continue to work with Joe Bond at Public Works on developing a comprehensive street program to submit the loan and grant initiative to the NJDEP iBank. So we'll be honing in on that the next week or two. That's my report.
Okay. Governing body, any questions for Mr. de Blasio?
Thank you, Mark. No.
There was a lot of initials being thrown around in that report. NJDEP, IP, JD, DOT. That's some fancy stuff right there. Public, you have any questions
Yeah.
for our engineer? Hearing none, I will add to Mark's comment. So I was going through all of my notes over the last year or two with respect to long-term projects, and I know that we're going to probably start gearing up for budget 2023 and so forth. So I would like to list some of these items on the agenda for open discussion, perhaps at the next meeting or two in August, just to get everybody engaged and on board, and have our CFO start focusing on the projects and getting the financing in line. Okay, that brings us to correspondence. There's none listed here, so we're going to move right to public comments. I'm gonna just kind of go over what I'm going to ask you to do. If anybody has any public comments, first thing I'm going to ask you to do is keep it to 5 minutes. Second thing I'm going to ask you to do is to be courteous to anybody that you're going to be talking about or around. And I also want you to give your name and address for the record. Now, if we can follow those rules, you're more than welcome to make a public comment. I'm going to start with anybody here in the room.
Hi. Gail Kelly at 201 East Columbine Road. Matt Golfo, also from 201 East Columbine Road. We drove 2+ hours to make sure we were here for this meeting. Okay, so, as you know, we, the residents of East Columbine Road and surrounding neighbors, are extremely disappointed and opposed to the 20-foot-plus modular building that was placed on the front lawn of 213 East Columbine Road, Wildwood Crest, for 4 reasons. First, it's a complete eyesore and lowers the value of our homes and curb appeal. Second, the owner stated at the July 6th meeting that the purpose of this building was to be used for a business called Art Pottery. We, the residents that live on East Columbine Road, choose our properties here because it's truly a residential street where we can enjoy our life better in the Crest. Businesses should not be allowed to be conducted on the front lawn. I inquired and spoke with Ms. Scott from the Mercantile License Department, and she informed me that the owners did not have a mercantile license, and she said they would not be able to obtain one since it's in a residential zone. So how is this business being allowed and supported by the town? Third, in the last meeting, the owner stated the purpose of this building is to run their business from it. Recently, neighbors have seen customers leaving the property with their purchased pottery. This is not only taking up our limited parking, but is clearly opposite of what the owner stated at the last meeting, that they don't have people coming to their home. The owner has an extensive website, I don't know if you saw it, called www.potteryart.biz, as well as the owner is using her residential address as her business address. We have it on a business card, and I even brought my laptop. It is on the computer. The owner stated the website was never updated. However, it's clearly not the case. When you pull up the website, there's an announcement that says, "I've moved," with the 213 East Columbine Road address. On the website, it also states studio visits are welcomed. When does a studio visit turn into an actual lesson? Now it will become a school. They are advertising for studio visits, which will clearly impact parking. The owner stated on the record on July 6th that nobody would be coming to the property. Clearly, people are visiting and are being welcomed to visit. How is this allowed? On top of it all, this building in concern is in direct violation of all points A to H in Ordinance Chapter 85, Land Development Ordinance, Article 14, Exceptions and Supplemental Regulations 85 to 68, Accessory Buildings, Structures, and Uses, and you know the ordinance. The ordinance seems pretty cut and dry and black and white, and our question is, why is the town not following their own ordinance? Fourth, we the residents are also concerned about the 2 large kilns that are housed in the converted garage. I have sent emails and made phone calls to the fire chief, and all that was emailed back from Mr. Ron Harwood on June 20th was the response, "Thank you. I believe code enforcement is handling it." I quoted him. However, after submitting, because we said we were going to submit an OPRA that day, there were no permits filed or an inspection done. Why is that? To have a kiln on your property, there are many things that need to be addressed, and I've done kiln research, so I have all documents that will support this. You need to have proper insurance, a licensed electrician and or plumber are needed, and there are strict codes and regulations for how it is installed under proper code and safety regulations, including proper ventilation, fire suppression, etc., as to all prevailing codes. And having a fire inspection, as well as exactly what things are allowed in the surrounding area in the converted garage near the kilns. Due to these reasons, we are requesting the town to please remove this so-called shed, which in reality is a modular 20-foot-plus building, as the owners have stated that the town knew it was going to be for a business. If her pottery was planning on going in the shed and then she's selling it, it becomes a warehouse and manufacturing facility. This clearly is against all codes. We are requesting that the owner show proof that a licensed electrician installed the kilns, insurance has been attained, and that a fire inspection is conducted, making sure all the rules and regulations of the particular kilns have been followed as per the manufacturer's requirements. We are also requesting that our street continues to truly remain a residential street, which we are so proud to live on. Running a business, conducting studio visits, and possibly running classes, manufacturing and warehousing should not be conducted in a residential zone by definition. I sent a recap email on July 6th at 3:29 p.m., and I was surprised that I only heard from one of the 4 people. We have followed the proper chain of command and have received nothing but the runaround and avoidance. Your neighbors perceive special consideration was given to these owners. We will continue our valiant efforts if this is not resolved. We truly hope the town follows the rule of law. We do not want the kind of negative attention that Wildwood is currently receiving. Life should be better in the Crest. Thank you for your time and consideration. And I want to say, we have nothing against these people. I'm not saying her ceramic is beautiful. It should not be done in a residential zone. That's it. There's no ill feelings. But please feel free to look at the website here, and you'll see it's been updated.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Any public comments?
I guess I have to. Alan Hirschman, I live at 213 East Columbine Road. I'm not going to address everything this lady said because a lot of it is not true. And one of the things that's not true is no sale was made from this property at any time, and I think she claims in the last few weeks since last year. That just didn't happen. There's no one walking out of our building or our home with packages. It just didn't happen. We're not doing classes, and yes, the website has partially been revised since we moved, and we have been talking to the fellow who works on the website. And as I represented last time, we're not doing classes, we're not selling. All we're doing is creating and designing. And a lot of things she said about electricians are just false. It's just false. And I don't think I have to stand up here every time she comes and spurts out allegations. There is no factual foundation. It just is false. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, so let me just, I feel like Judge Judy up here. So all I want to know is, so this, I think we all know from the last presentation and the last comments, this is not as simple, and it's not going to happen overnight. The resolution is not going to happen in 2 weeks. There's a lot of little details that have to be reviewed. The reason why you didn't get email responses back is because Commissioner Franco is the governing body member that's going to work with council and work with all of our appropriate officials to get the resolution. Commissioner Schiff and I are not, that's not our department. It is in a sense, but he's the one that's going to be working directly and eventually providing the response on behalf of the borough of Wildwood Crest. So we can't all respond back and give it misinformation. It's better that it's streamlined, coming right from one individual and through the professionals that Mr. Franco is going to work with. So all I can ask for is patience, cooperation, give us some time. We've heard both parties, all parties that are involved in this, we've heard it all. We've got lots of information and documents that we need to go through and pour through. So just give us that time, and there'll be a solution one way or the other. I don't know what that is right now, but it is being worked on. So just please bear with us. You're welcome to come to the next meeting. I hope not, but you're more than welcome to. I say that with kind hearts. Okay, so we're done with that. We're going to move on.
Just have one question. My name is Matt Golfo, 201 East Columbine. Is it reasonable that we can ask the owners to have their kilns inspected? It is a safety concern. It could be a 120 volt plug-in that, like an easy bake oven, or it could be something that's more substantial. Since no one knows and we filed an OPRA and there's been no fire report or inspection or permits filed, I think it's reasonable to have a cease and desist until those ovens are proven safe.
I would defer to our chief of.
Legal counsel, it's a single-family home. I have no right to go in anybody's single-family home and tell them what to do. It's not a multiple dwelling.
But
I
she
don't
is
know.
advertising it as a business.
That would go back to the solicitor, make the decision, and then the borough council. I cannot go on your property and tell you what to do.
So
If
hold
it's
on a
two or
second.
more connected, that's a
What I
different
don't
story.
want to do is get them so what has to happen there. The request was your request is can the borough put a cease and desist on anything until till proven that it's the
It's
fire
safe.
safety issue is safe.
Right.
Okay, Commissioner Franco has heard you. He will look at and work with the appropriate first person, just because there's different codes that he and council would need to look at. I want them to have that fair opportunity to do that, not to put them on the spot and say something that may actually be wrong. I don't want that to happen. Give them the time, and they'll get back to you. Trish, you have his information? Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
You're gonna miss us.
If we're starting to inspect my house and inspect my garage, and I'll be honest with you, I don't mind it, okay? I'm not saying I'm agreeing to it right here. I would like the name of everybody on this petition, and I want to inspect their place to see if there are any violations. I mean, it's just not a one-way street, and I don't want to do this, but I'm as entitled to know that all these people have lived up to whatever the code is. Whether they put a shed in their backyard and they weren't supposed to, I don't know. Whether they've changed something in their house without a proper license, I don't know. But if you're going to make me, and as I said, I'm not really opposed to it as long as it's a two-way street. So my request is, I want to check everybody else who's complained. This is an excuse. This is really an excuse, and they're entitled to whatever they want. I'm not saying they can't, but I want the same right then.
I think we all understand now why this decision can't be made in a short time. There's a lot of little details.
Okay, but I just want to say one more thing. We as residents are not conducting a business, which has clearly been stated. This is a residential zone. It is on a website that says, I've moved, 213 East Columbine. Come visit me. I'm 3 blocks from the beach. This is advertising. She hands out her business cards at her shows. Come over, see the pottery. There's studio visits. That has been updated, because guess what? He took off the school part. Now it's called studio visits. So he's getting it's getting creative, the website, but it's extensive. We are homeowners. We just own a home. We're not doing a business. It's two different, you're comparing an apple and an orange.
I think your point's very clear.
Yeah.
I think you need to give the commissioner time.
Okay.
And to go back and forth like this really doesn't help. So I hear you. Commissioner Franco hears you.
We've been in contact multiple times, Gail, I know, and
Yes.
I've been in contact with Mr. Hirschman as well, so.
names, that's why we're
No, I it's fine, it's not a problem.
Probably a
But
good thing.
we've been in contact in the last 2 weeks.
correct.
It's fine. No, and I wanted to address that. We have been in contact, and I wanted to make that known for the public. We have discussed this matter and also had discussions with Mr. Hirschman as well, with other residents. So we are addressing it. It's not like it's going under the rug. We are trying to fix the situation. So it is going to take time, to piggyback on what the mayor said. It is going to take a little bit of time.
We understand that.
All right. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Moreno. I live at 215 West Buttercup Road in Wildwood Crest. And I have to put my glasses on, but I'm going to do a little bit of reading because there's a lot to say. Dear Mayor and Commissioner, I and many of my neighbors feel there is a serious safety issue at the intersection of Park Boulevard and Buttercup Road. A large amount of traffic moves along Park Boulevard in this intersection. We as residents have been dealing with this serious situation for several years. This is especially apparent during the tourism timeframe of the year. We are bringing attention to the safety problem with the hope of immediate attention and prompt resolution by our borough commissioners to ensure Crest residents' safety. We have many children, grandchildren, and other family members using Park Boulevard with vehicles, bicycles, and by foot. We feel there are several factors here that contribute to this situation. During the last few years, our community has changed a lot. COVID's occurred, more homes are built, Wildwood Crest has become a popular vacation destination. Revenue has hit an all-time high for the Wildwood Island, and folks have migrated here due to the ability to work from home. All this has increased the volume of traffic into our area, especially on Park Boulevard. Our street alone, 6 homes were replaced by 13 homes, more than doubling the number of vehicles and pedestrians. On any given day, we could have 20 children plus adults attempting to cross Park Boulevard. Most travelers coming to Wildwood Crest use major roads and highways where speeds exceed 70 miles an hour. As a result, some drivers seem to be very aggressive in their driving, either because of frustration on the road or simply trying to get to their vacation home. Most of the travelers use Park Avenue. Factor 3, currently there's only one blinking yellow light in the span of 1 mile between Cressy Ave and Rambler. The light has been changed from a standard yellow or a standard light to a yellow blinking light to get traffic through quicker. Factor 4, the traffic is exceeding the speed limit of 25 miles per hour on Park Boulevard. Factor 5, the visibility entering the section of Park Boulevard and Buttercup Road is poor due to the vehicles parked on corners. Factor 6, pedestrian signs and crosswalks are much less between Cressy and Rambler than most streets within Wildwood Crest. Factor 7, the pedestrian cross sign has been removed from Park Boulevard and Buttercup intersection where it stood for 2 years. This removal by the Wildwood Crest Public Safety Office was explained as there are too many and they may cause a false sense of security. We were also told the signs are ugly, they don't stop vehicles. If we get your sign back, we'll have to give the others back that we took away, and we can't have signs on every block. And I have quite a few pictures that contradict that statement where signs are back to back, and I'm glad to provide them to you. So what we did here over the last week is we performed a review of things that may impact pedestrian safety. Those things are crosswalks, safety devices for pedestrians, and traffic lights. Our review includes intersections of streets north to south from Cressy to Rambler and west to east between Park and Ocean. We also performed a traffic volume study on Buttercup Road from Park Boulevard down to Ocean, which runs west to east. Our findings were as follows. On one day, which was last Saturday, from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., we noticed that there were 1,115 vehicles, registered vehicles, that went through that intersection. It was approximately 50% more than any other intersection. New Jersey and Buttercup had 603, Pacific and Buttercup had 497, Seaview and Buttercup had 208, and Atlantic Avenue and Buttercup had 409. Ocean had 514. So approximately 3,425 registered vehicles went through those roads, and 1,115 went through Buttercup and Park. Okay, so this, in our observation of tickets, in the last 18 months, only 37 tickets were written for speeding or reckless driving. We kind of question that. So this has led us to some following observations. Park Avenue has the largest traffic volume, the fewest standard lights, and the smaller number of pedestrian crosswalks and safety devices. New Jersey has more pedestrian safety devices, better suited to handle the high volume of traffic. Observation 3, our traffic volume study performed by residents took approximately 1 hour to complete. It shows that the intersection of Park and Buttercup handles almost 50% of more traffic than any other road. Observation 4, our experience crossing Buttercup Road in New Jersey is less threatening than Buttercup Road. And this is due to Park, the number of lights between the two, where Buttercup and New Jersey has 2 lights that are left and right, and the traffic is throttled, where we can get a gap and cross. There isn't even a crosswalk there, but that's the effect that lights have. So we want to point that out. Other communities, such as North Wildwood, appear to be more proactive than the Crest. On JFK Beach Drive between 18th and 13th, which goes across 16 streets, has 10 state law crosswalk signs compared to the 19 streets that I spoke about along Park, which only have 6. We have photos to show this and the other examples in North Wildwood and Cape May, and glad to share them with you at another time. We've also, I already mentioned the final thing about traffic tickets. Almost done here. So this is not a minor complaint. It's not a dog or loud music here that we're complaining about. It's about safety. And we've met with public safety and we're not happy with the outcome. So we need your help as borough commissioners to help us out, and we're trying to raise awareness. And the thing we're worried about here is, any day now, we could have a serious accident or a death. And if that happens, this is public record now. We could be sued. We could have our taxes increased over now what I consider a known issue because it's brought here. So in closing, we've gathered 50 signatures from concerned residents. We've met with public safety, not happy. We need the borough commissioners to drive this home, okay?
Who's here is with Mr. Moreno? And I assume all of you live on the same block?
Yes. 200 block.
On the 200 block?
200.
Okay. So for Commissioner Franco, Commissioner Schiff, Chief Lloyd, you guys have anything you want to?
Absolutely.
And Mike, I'm sorry, can I get a copy of your thing for the record?
Yes.
The study.
Please, yeah, everything that you have.
Yep.
Please.
I'll just connect. I'll give it to you. All right, there's the,
That's where I read it.
Thank you.
We did meet a couple of times, stated the facts. I'd like the chief to let him speak a minute.
sure.
So we did meet several times. We discussed replacing the pedestrian traffic crosswalk sign. We did explain to him, the two gentlemen that we met with, that this was not the quick fix and it was not going to alleviate all the problems. We've stepped up our traffic enforcement in that area. And we also discussed with them that we were going to speak with the borough engineer to have a proper traffic study done, because 1 hour on one day cannot give us the proper traffic study that we're looking for. But also, that is not something that I can just do without the governing body's approval. So this is something that we have to discuss and we have to do a long-term plan for. There is no quick fix for the issue that we have down there. And Buttercup and Park Boulevard is not the only place that we have problems that we're looking to address. We explained yesterday during our meeting that this is something that we're continuing to look at, and we're continuing to keep on our radar and make sure that moving forward we find the correct solution to. So, Commissioner, I don't know if you have anything else?
This is not a Band-Aid fix. We need a
Correct.
long-term fix, and we're aware of that. You brought it to our attention, and I said I appreciate it. Chief has said the same thing. We stepped up, moved the sign, that one speeding sign down the end, brought up more vigilance on that roadway, and we're going to look into different ways to do it. My only problem is this. When you change one thing, like you asked for a change of direction, you wanted to move, make one street another one-way street going the opposite direction.
So what was discussed is they wanted to activate that traffic light at Astor Road and then change the direction of traffic on 100 West Crocus to have it traveling westbound instead of eastbound. Because it was explained to them when that traffic light at Astor Road was activated, whenever vehicles traveling southbound trying to get through town or to the south portion of town saw that light changing from yellow to red, they turned onto 100 West Crocus Road, and now we have a whole row of traffic traveling down a smaller side street one direction, where we also have children. We have children all over town. Every change that we make in traffic signs, traffic lights, it impacts not only that specific area, but it also impacts other streets. For instance, if we activated that light at Astor Road again, that would impact 100 West Crocus very heavily. Because every time that traffic light turned red heading southbound on Park Boulevard, you would have a row of cars driving eastbound on 100 West Crocus, trying to get to New Jersey Avenue to get back to where they were going. So this is not something that we can just turn that traffic light back on and that's going to fix it. It's something that we have to actually look at how we can do this properly without just having a knee-jerk reaction and doing something that could potentially affect others elsewhere in town. So we need to look at it as the whole borough, not just Buttercup and Park Boulevard. Yes, we're aware there's an issue there. We're looking at how we can address that, but we can't address that just by throwing up a traffic sign or turning on a traffic light. It doesn't work quite that simply. It's something that we need to look into and make sure that we do properly. In the meantime, we have stepped up our enforcement down on Park Boulevard, as was explained to the two gentlemen. And it's not going to be a quick fix. It's not something that you just, all right, we'll throw a sign here, we'll activate a traffic light, or we'll put a traffic light here. There's ripple effects for everything that we do, and we've got to keep that in mind before we make a decision on how to address this problem.
And our goal is not just one street or Park Boulevard. It really is for the whole town to try to slow this traffic down. The electric vehicles that are going through here, the motorized bikes that are going through here, like at an unbelievable pace. So our goal is to actually step things up and slow it down.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to counter some of that.
Sure.
You can stay up here with me.
Sure.
You sure he wants to?
Did you read anything? No. Didn't read anything. All right. Not going to read. Okay. So we never said to turn directions. We did say, it did ask for, we suggested to turn the light on, and we suggested to put the sign back, and we suggested to, so when we got to an impasse yesterday, we asked you several times, is this all that you can do? And that was move the sign over that shows how fast folks are going, and if they're breaking the law, if they're going over the speed limit. And then your comment was, well, we've upped the presence. And my view of that is that's a temporary Band-Aid. Every week, traffic changes, new people come into the community. So you told us you couldn't do anything. I asked long-term.
Never said never could do anything.
I asked long-term. Go ahead, you speak.
No, I'm good, because what
I'll
we're not
sit
going to
down.
try to achieve here is bantering back and forth.
I'm
We
not gonna
understand the point. We need to fix it. We understand it. Point well taken. That's all I can say. I'm following my expert right there, and we'll get the answers. And we will try our best to do something, more than try it. It will be taken care of through the borough. We got to start somewhere.
You're done? Okay, because I would like to
Yeah.
add something. Okay, so my point to that is, I asked if you could then long-term tell me what you were doing, and I would like deliverables on that. If you're telling me there's nothing in the budget for this year to do a volume study, then that's fine. So when are you going to try and put that in the budget and get that through? And when will we chat about that again? I don't want to go into
Mike,
another, I'm sorry, I'm still
When did
talking.
you come to me?
I'm still talking,
I
right?
get it. When did you come to me about this?
I've come to folks since May. I've gone through the chain of command, right? And I've made my way up to you, and you've told me really there's nothing you can give me in writing with a long-term plan when I did not want to accept your short-term plan, which was a presence that can't be kept up and a sign that can be moved at any time you have another complaint. You're going to move that sign over there. So that's not a sign that's going to stay there forever. And your presence isn't going to be there forever. I can't expect that from you. So I expect better answers on how you're going to solve the problem.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it.
All right, so.
Thank you.
So if I may, so originally, Mr. Moreno contacted me, I put him in touch with public safety, you guys had a couple meetings. What's the short-term ask was originally when you had spoken to me, was to put the sign, the pedestrian crosswalk sign back, I think you said it was there for the last 2 years.
Yes.
Okay, so So that's what I'll call a short-term fix. The long-term fix is just so everyone is aware. So the borough is working on, that's part of the triangle. So there is the bulkheads, there's the infrastructure, there's the new roadways that we're looking at as a part of the long-term project. And you heard our engineer talk about street reconstruction program, and that's Park Boulevard and Lake Road and those side streets are part of that program. So there's some of the long-term fixes, and I think we all know when you come down from Wildwood down Park Boulevard into the Crest, you know, the line striping from Wildwood coming into the Crest is kind of wacky, and I think that that's something that, from an engineering perspective, I think you guys said you're going to meet with the engineer and do a traffic study. That's something that we can do. I don't know if there's anything that you can do now in the summertime, but it certainly, you know.
Well, I think it would be beneficial to actually do it in the summertime, as well as in the off-season. That's something I do need to speak to the engineer about. And yesterday, when we
You
met with
mentioned
you, I told you.
Yep, you did say that.
We're gonna do something actionable. I'm not just going to try to put a Band-Aid on this.
Mhm.
We are going to do something, but we need to do it properly. And to do that, unfortunately, it takes a little bit of time. But I can tell you that my officers are out there and they are watching Park Boulevard. They're watching the entire town. My officers are very aggressive. We had 474 motor vehicle stops in June. Okay, we're gonna beat that here in July. We are not ignoring any of the problems that we have here in Wildwood Crest. I can promise you that. And I am not ignoring you, I'm not ignoring any of you.
Mhm.
But give us a little bit of time. I'm not gonna put a Band-Aid on a gaping wound and just hope that it goes away. That's not how we operate. We've gotta do it right.
Chief, I appreciate that, and that's why I asked for deliverables, because I think that's the way business works. I know that where I work, that's how it works. If you say you're gonna do something, can you get back to me in a certain date and say budgets, whatever? I mean, can we put that in writing?
I'm not able to do that at this time because I don't know,
Okay.
to be quite honest. So I have to go with our professionals
Can-
to put an understanding of what we want to do and then come back to you.
Okay, so you'll come back to me at some point in time where you list the items and as best you can, put a deliverable on it.
Sounds fair.
Sounds fair? And one other thing, when you took our sign away, I asked this before, why did you choose our sign to take away? You couldn't answer that.
Correct.
Okay, so.
Because I didn't take it away.
Well, whoever, I thought your office did.
My office did, but
So-
not me personally.
No, I guess you're not
I
doing
didn't go
that.
down the street
Yeah.
and say yes, no,
Okay,
yes,
so,
no.
so why can't you put our sign back?
Chief?
So
And add others. Yeah.
there were multiple signs that were not replaced this year, and there's multiple reasons for that. As
Okay.
I explained, unfortunately, well, number one, they get hit by cars all the time. Number two, we have people that use that as a security blanket to walk out in front of traffic.
Yes.
And we've got to figure out how we can educate everybody, the public, and unfortunately we have a lot of tourism here, so not everybody is aware of that New Jersey law. From what we've seen in the past, we had more issues with people just walking out in front of motor vehicles when those signs were in place than we have people stopping for people in the crosswalk, if that makes any sense. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do, but I can counter that with what I've seen where I talked about 4 streets and they have 10 of them in North Jersey, or North Wildwood. So I don't get that. And when I come to you and I say, we have a thin white line that's a crosswalk, 2 thin lines, but I go across all of the Crest and look at, I'll call it the Cadillac or the Continental, where it looks like a ladder. They're very visible for drivers, and I think you ought to put that up at our intersection where it's a better crosswalk. Because if I come down and go by the lake, there's like 4 of them, 5 of them. You can see them 3 streets away. That ladder. So it's not all the driver's fault. The visibility is poor on the thin line that you're
I
putting
agree
down.
with you.
So
Absolutely.
why can't we put that there? Put my sign back, and when you figure out what to do with the light, you know, we're in a better place.
So I've already talked to our traffic safety supervisor about changing those crosswalks on Park Boulevard to match the others throughout town. It's not something we can do in July. It's just, number one, there's other things that they're doing, and as you know, the traffic on Park Boulevard right now is not something that's going to allow them to paint the
Well, they
roadway.
painted them a week ago. They refreshed them. So
Yes.
I don't know what I don't know what the
Hold on.
difference is.
So if we do it on Park Boulevard, then we've got to do it on Morning Glory. Then we've got to do it on or if I do it on Buttercup, then we've got to do it on Morning Glory.
I understand the challenge.
So it's
Chief, I got a question.
yes.
We're the ones from Buttercup that are bringing up this issue.
Hold on one second.
My name's Jim McGinty. I live at 218 West Buttercup Road.
Can you?
Me and Mike actually have met with the commissioner and with the chief. And our first question was, why did you take away our sign? For 2 years, we had that sign, there was no problem. When the sign gets taken away, we cannot cross the street. Now we have a problem. And what we did is we asked for the sign back, and we were told no. But yet there's signs at other different intersections. So why would they be relevant at other intersections and not relevant at ours? The issue of people just walking into the street because of a sign of a false sense of security, that's up to that individual. If they're gonna take their life into their hands and do that, there's nothing you're gonna do with a sign, a red light, a stop sign, or anything. They're gonna do that. And, I'm sorry to say this, but that's basically stupidity. But for us to try to get across the street, when an automobile comes down and sees the visible sign that says it's against the law for you not to stop for someone in the walkway, the light goes off, just like you see a stop sign or you see a red light. It clicks. I got people in the crosswalk. Let them get across. If the sign's not there, they continue to go. The flow of traffic just goes. So what we'd asked for when we went to meet with the chief and the commissioner was, why can't we have our sign back? Temporary. And they explained, I want to give them credit, they explained their issues about the long term. They did. And the chief, we have noticed a high visibility of law enforcement, and we gave them that. We said that. But we're talking long term. We're looking for something short term. We still got July and August left and some of September to try to get across the street to get to the beach with our kids and grandkids. And it's what it's going to take, and I hate to say this, it took it in front of the bakery down the street here on Buttercup because of a tragedy. It took another tragedy on Lake Avenue to get things changed. We don't want to see another tragedy. We want to see change proactively, not reactively. And to be able to put our sign back as a temporary fix to help maybe slow that process, for basically them to say no because they're ugly, we're afraid it's going to give a false sense of security, we don't really understand that. We
I know
don't.
you don't understand that, but you don't drive around the borough all day long looking at these types of things like my officers do, like I do. So there is a pedestrian sign 1 block north of you at Morning Glory, 2 blocks south of you at Heather. Okay, we put them out strategically throughout the borough so we didn't have them at every single block. Okay, I understand your frustration as I explained to you, but we put your sign back. All those that requested signs, we're going to have to put all the signs back, and it's
ugly. We were told that.
Well, absolutely.
We were told
So
that.
let me
It's
just
ugly, right?
It
might save a life, but it's ugly.
No, hang on.
Hold on 1 second, everybody. Let me just, I don't want to go back and forth on this. So
Correct.
here's what I know. The request was made, I think short term to put the sign back, maybe enhance with, if possible, I'll call it the piano striping going across. I think Chief, you indicated that's gonna be a hard ask in the middle of summer. Long term, I think the traffic study and having Mark, you still on the call, our engineer, is to work with public safety.
Yes, I am.
To take a look at Park Boulevard to see if there's anything that, from an engineering, line striping, any physical, concrete pours or something, maybe we close the gap between the intersections and have some bump outs there. I'll leave that up to you to work with public safety, but I think that the short-term ask you're asking for is to put the sign in the street. Is that right?
Short term is that and the striping, because we know that the visibility is there for drivers when we see it, because we drive the roads. So and the street was painted a week ago, the thin line was repainted, so if you did that a week ago to say you can't do it now with the piano, I don't understand that.
And the sign, the digital sign, is that the pool behind, so the,
Yeah, the one we moved from,
in the middle
gotcha.
yeah,
okay, yeah, so
which,
that,
which shows your speed.
okay. So maybe not that one, there's other, there's the digital flashing sign?
There's a couple of them
We
down
we
there.
already have those on Park Boulevard, just a few blocks south of.
And what are they?
And
The digital speed.
It just says your speed?
yes,
Yeah, so it's just, okay.
I'm sorry, what are we thinking about doing now?
No, I was just I have our engineer on the
Okay.
line,
Okay,
and I
sorry.
think he's just I'm just reiterating some of the things that he needs to work with public safety on the long-term fix, and then I think the short-term ask is the line strike. I just wanna make sure we all understand what the short-term ask is, as to sign, the pedestrian crosswalk sign in the street, and possible painting, which I think the painting is not gonna be possible because we're in the summer. So really, you guys determine whether or not, I have no issue with it, just if you're making the presentation here with that pedestrian crosswalk sign, I know that everybody, I've seen them around town as well, but that's, leave it up to you guys to review all that.
I do see the guy painting the signs still, so,
Okay,
painting the
well, we
lines.
appreciate that. So
So
I
don't say
think,
you can't do it.
I never said I didn't,
Okay.
or it
I'm sorry.
wasn't possible. I just said it's difficult in the summertime to do that. And like I said, we discussed it, the traffic safety supervisor and I, about doing all of Park Boulevard the same way that the rest of the borough is.
Mhm.
Because I agree with you, those crosswalks are more visible. I'll talk with him again and see if it's something that we can work on.
I appreciate that.
As you know, it's extremely difficult right now in the middle of July to stand in the middle of the road and paint crosswalks.
We'll help you.
yeah,
It's
thanks.
not me doing it. I've got to make sure that my employees are safe also. So.
Yep.
So let me just kind of sum it up the way I feel. You're making great arguments, and I agree with a lot of them. So what I'm gonna do is ask Chief, we'll meet again, him and I, and Ralph, our public safety. We'll try to come up with a plan, which is going to be not the permanent plan, but to help see if we can do some of those things.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I think will work.
Okay, since we're going on record, I'd like 2 of those to go across. Right now, we have 1.
Let us see what we can
And,
do.
just, it's like, Christmas time or something. So,
Christmas time is almost
so
due.
you have that single lane that goes across, and we have 1. And when I know there's 4 and 3.5, but I think 2 crossing Park
Let us
would
take
be
a
great.
look.
Okay.
Thank you.
Call me if you
I'll
need
be
some
happy
guidance.
to. Now, let's take a look at it.
I
mean,
wouldn't mind meeting again, too.
This is serious stuff, and we're taking it serious. This is not a joke, okay? And when you
Didn't say.
said to me, lives being taken, I get it. Because as I told you in our meeting, and it really upsets me too, when I had 3 deaths on the beach, I took that very serious. And I'm just making a statement, that's all.
Okay.
So what you're saying hits home. So I'd like, we heard you for the 3rd time, which it's fine. Let us get together, the 3, not you 2 guys, but the 3 of us in my department, and we'll see what we can do. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
I'm not sure what, you keep bringing it up.
I will be
These-
coming back to you.
No, these drownage, you bring it up all the time, and I'm trying to stay focused on our issue.
I am too.
Okay,
but
okay.
You made a statement and it hurt me,
Which one?
the one about the lives, that's all,
Oh,
being
okay.
taken. And,
I think we can all agree on that.
For the record, I think there's only 1 drowning, right? I
well,
just wanna
yeah, I'm
make-
saying
all right,
total for
okay.
the beaches.
All right, just so no
Sorry.
other question. That's all right. I just want to make sure I have this one. All right, so we're going to close the matter on Columbine and Buttercup. Is there anything unrelated to those 2 issues that anybody would like to make a public comment on?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, obviously, with their 6 houses down, 13 go up, or whatever the actual numbers are. My question is, does this development follow in your master plan for land use and so on? is it feasible to have a moratorium on building for even a year? I'm not saying existing permits, but if we could take a pause and get these life-saving issues straightened out before we have 2 more houses taken down and 4 put up, and really, do we have the infrastructure to support that development too?
I don't think we've ever had that implemented before. I'm not sure.
Right, so I'll defer to council on that, but I think from a development standpoint, if something comes down, everything that's being done now is per zoning.
Right.
What's permitted. So is your question then to put a halt on that until such time?
Well, if a permit's already pulled and things are go, that you can't, I believe you can't stop that. I'm saying future, if we put a halt even for a year, some moratorium to maybe take another look at how we're developing the Crest, infrastructure that supports it. You know, I know in other towns, schools get inundated, they put up high-density housing, and next thing you know, the school taxpayers are buying, or taxes raised to put up additional schools, more firefighters and so on. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys have that already figured out, but I was just wondering if there's a plan and this kind of development is part of that plan.
Not that there has been no, to answer your question, there's nothing that was on the table, but I'll.
I'm not aware of any authority where you can just tell people you're not allowed to build on your land. Unless it comes from the state, if you want to petition the state legislature for a moratorium or something, but I'm not aware of a municipality that's able to just say, stop building.
Okay.
I think construction.
So we should talk to the governor?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I have my powerhouse here, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
So,
The only moratoriums I'm aware of came from the state level.
oh, okay. I didn't know if municipalities had
We're
control
not,
over it.
we don't have that kind of power in municipal
Yeah,
government.
we have moratorium. If we reconstruct a street, we can stop people from hopefully opening the street. But
Right,
that's
I just
pretty
thought
much-
give you guys a chance to get a handle on all this, before it just keeps snowballing on you. But that was it.
Yeah, I think the issue is, I think it's an engineering long-term issue, and I think Mark and Public Safety will handle its engineering.
Thank you.
I think that's where I kind of started out with, so many things have changed in the community,
Right.
we gotta keep an eye on them.
Okay. Anybody else?
Mayor, Commissioners? David Thompson, 8002 Pacific Avenue. I'll try and make this quick since everything seems to be running long. You're working on an auction on Rosemary and Seaview for the property. My question is this: the money from that auction, is it being designated for a specific project?
No.
Okay, so that leads me to this. We know we have to do a pump station in the triangle over there down Washington Avenue. We know our money is fine in this town. Okay, so our budget is good, secure, and my question is, why would we sell that property now, which that money then is going to go into next year's budget and just be used up in the budget, which doesn't really help anything since we're in such good financial shape? Why would you not consider waiting to sell that property until you're ready to purchase a property for the pump station? Then that money could be used in the same year you buy a property for the pump station and not affecting the taxes so much. It seems to me like we don't need to sell that property now. I know a study was done to see what property we own, but that's my understanding is what it came out of. So what? We've owned it forever. It's sitting there. It was donated to us. I would recommend you do not sell that property until the year you are ready to buy a property for one of the 2 pump stations.
Okay, so I think the proceeds of the sale will go into general surplus, to which will just increase their surplus. The idea, so the tax revenue, I believe, on the house, once it would be like $13,000 a year. So even though the surplus, the revenue from the sale will go into surplus, the annual tax benefit to Wildwood Crest is roughly $13,000. So, and I think everyone knows that the market is at its highest right now. So if you're going to sell a property now, because I think we're starting to see things leveling off a little bit, now's the time to sell it. and it's just ongoing maintenance for public works and so forth. So there's been a lot of interest. I think, Madam Clerk, has there been, how many people?
24.
24 people that are interested in putting in a bid on that. So I think Francine, correct me if I'm wrong, I think whether we sell it now or whichever, whenever the time comes for a pump station, that purchase, that lot acquisition, that project would eventually wind itself up in a bond, which the borough would pay off over a period of time. Correct?
That is correct, because it's going to be a large expense for the
Okay.
borough.
So having an increased surplus would be beneficial as well. You could do it either way. It's just
You can use that money for the down payment on the bond.
okay.
I would agree that we've about maxed out. We're seeing the changeover, more properties available, maybe prices come down a little bit. It just still seems to me that that's just going to get spread out over general budget, and it would help better in the year you actually bought another property. So I would recommend you at least relook at it and see, maybe let Francine work the numbers. If it's more beneficial for all that money to come in a year you're buying versus getting spread over $13,000 a year, you're going to pay $400,000 for property, $300,000. So 13 is not huge dollars when you're talking about $300,000 minimum to buy a property. So I would just suggest you look at it, reevaluate. If it wouldn't be better to have that money come in the year you're going to buy a property, and that should further help the budget as opposed to just spreading it out. I'll just leave it at that. I would suggest you look at that. Okay?
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
I'm not getting back up, I'm getting my stuff.
All right. Anybody else have any public comments? Anybody on the conference line have any public comments? Okay, that moves us to under new business. We have one item listed. That's Preston Park. Mr. De Blasio, are you still on the line?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just to kind of go back and reiterate, so the Preston Park was a project that was initiated by our volunteer group, the Green Team. They had worked on some conceptual drawings with Mr. De Blasio and the borough's landscape architect. That project, the design was approved in the previous administration, got carried over to the current administration. So when we had Arbor Day, I think down there, we kind of looked around and said maybe that project was a little too much, a little overkill, so let's scale it back. So using the approved design, I think that we don't need to use the landscape architect, and then Mark has enough to work with, Mark De Blasio, our engineer, to work with to create the new site plan and the engineering to go behind all that so we can get out to bid specifications. So he had originally had a proposal, I think it was $37,000, and then it was reduced down to I think $20,000, which needs approval from the governing body to get to the point to help us determine what we can do in-house and what we can possibly subcontract out. Originally, we were looking to hopefully subcontract it out because I know Public Works has their hands full just doing the day-to-day operations, and add more larger scale projects would just put us further behind. We have a very limited crew and a lot of projects to get done. So that was it. I think at the end of the day, Mark just needs to get the approval. I know there were some questions going back and forth. I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood all those details. If everybody's okay with it, then I would ask that we put the proposal on for the next meeting agenda, or if there's any questions, governing body members, feel free to ask Mr. De Blasio.
No, I do not.
So far?
Good. Okay. Madam Clerk, if you don't mind, we could list that for approval for the next meeting in August.
Very good.
All right, under old business, historian. So Connie Mann and myself are going to meet with Kirk Hastings, who's the current executive director of the Crest Historical Society. So as a result of us talking about it, there's been a lot of comments and questions about the historian position and so forth. I think that safe to say that the Wildwood Crest Historical Society hasn't really been meeting. There's been some concern with the artifacts that have been stored at the Wildwood Crest Rescue Building, preserving those, and then eventually they'll hopefully find their way into the Crest Arts Pavilion. So we're going to go over all those details on Thursday. I just wanted everybody to be aware. There's been no action or movement on the historian position. I do know that there is some things that the state is driving. I'll get into those at a later time as soon as I have a chance to meet with some certain folks in the borough. All right, moving on to Back Beach excavation, that's on hold. Office moves, there was an internal meeting with public safety, with public works, with finance, with Connie, trying to figure out a plan. So just so that so everyone has some background information. So we have a couple issues. One is, you know, particularly up on our second floor, we have professional offices that have confidential information and you know, it's our finance office, and just having folks wander down the hallways when they're trying to get to other parts of the building, particularly the construction office, trying to figure out a way to limit that traffic, number one. Number two, and also probably more importantly, is our safety of our department. We all see some of the craziness going on in the world today, trying to figure out, you know, a way to make the borough and our staff safer, not just here at Borough Hall, but I think everywhere else. So surveillance cameras. We talked about having a armed security officer at the front desk when you walk into the building. We had talked about some additional surveillance cameras. We had talked about relocating some offices. And I think we have, I'll say at least a 75% plan, something that needs to be phased in. But here's the bottom line. Bottom line is that the amount of records and the amount of employees and the amount of things that, as small as Wildwood Crest is, this building isn't large enough. The exterior of the building, if you look at it, is starting to show its age. There's some structural things around the windows and the bricks starting to show cracks in it. The building itself is going to need some TLC. So at the same time, perhaps now is the time to start looking. We have storage. We have to keep records and records and records and records. We don't have it. We have air conditioning units stuck in the attic that we can't get out to fix because that's the way the building was built. So we're dealing with a very old building. So the point is that as we look to the long term, what is the long term? Probably some additional expansion and some renovations to this building. Want to make sure the public is aware that we're going to probably embark upon that at some point in time. What's coming first, though, however, is going to be the Beach Patrol building, and then we're probably going to start diving into what we need to do here at Municipal Hall. A lot of the work, you know, we did in-house. This wonderful conference room was done by Public Works. Saved the borough a lot of money without having to go, you know, to having to use a contractor. And a lot of that stuff we can do in-house. So that goes back to my point on Preston Park. Can't only do so much with Public Works. So some of this stuff we're going to have to use outside vendors. So that's the office moves. Flood mitigation projects. Mark's working on that bulkhead ordinance and some of the things that we had talked about in the long-term plan with the redoing Park Boulevard and that triangle area. Nothing on the liquor license. Dredging. Connie reported on that. Beach Patrol building. Commissioner, anything on that?
Just stuck in hold right now.
Right, and I think that we have, we're still waiting on the JD permit, right?
Correct. We have asked for an extension of 30 days on the permit for the storage area that we should be hearing about in about 2.5 weeks. The JD, we were hoping to hear by now, but they do have 90 days to respond, and there's been some vacations in there from the DEP employees, so we're hoping to hear back real soon on that. And that will determine whether we need a Capra permit to do the renovations to the building. If we do not, we can start proceeding with getting our construction documents together and getting out to bid. If we need a Capra permit, that would delay that for the better part of probably 90 plus days once we apply. So that application would have to go in if that JD doesn't come back favorable.
Okay. CAFRA permit, Connie mentioned that in her report. That's on hold until we get the actual JD. All right, that wraps up any old business. Governing body, anything you want to add on anything under old business, new business?
All
Anything?
good, thank you.
No? All right. Brings us to our last round of public comments before we move into our closing commissioner comments. Public comments, starting with anybody here in the room. Anybody on the conference line have any last and final public comments? Hearing none? Fellow commissioners, who wants to go first?
I'll take it this time. First of all, I'd like to really thank all our departments through the borough that they do a great job in the summer. I never realized it until I'm sitting in this position right now. And we do all work together and we do good things. There was a request made to move a couple of the signs. We took care of that right away at the
Handicap parking?
handicap parking to make it easier for some people that were designated for one spot. It wasn't going to be able to be used, and just move them over. We got good people here.
It's more of a statement. In June, New Jersey passed a $506 billion budget for next year, and many people will see their income taxes increase because of the cost of living increases that may push them into a higher tax bracket. Under New Jersey's graduated income tax rate, a single worker pays 3.5% income tax on income earned between $35,000 and $40,000. That tax rate jumps for an income between $40,000 and $75,000 to 5.525%, and then to 6.37% for any income above 75% or 75,000, excuse me. While these types of things are out of our control, our goal as a municipality is to keep spending in check by investing in our infrastructure, employees, and making the necessary upgrades to keep our town safe and a desirable place. So if you happen to look at tonight's agenda and our past agendas, we've kept up with investing in our infrastructure, investing in our employees, and keeping the necessary upgrades to our town for the residents and visitors. So the things that we're doing, we have no control over what the state or government are doing. But as a local municipality, we're doing our part, I believe. So with the work with the gentleman next to me, I think we're moving in a good direction. The borough's moving in a really good direction. So that is my comment.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so just a couple quick things. I believe, Chief, you touched on the Christmas in July, this Saturday. Is there a food truck festival, I believe, also on this Sunday?
Yes.
Correct? Okay, so food truck festival is on Sunday. If anyone, if you didn't know, but I'm going to advise you, so the jitney service of the Wildwoods that you could catch from Atlantic Avenue to Ocean Avenue, which would take you down to the boardwalk, take you down the North Wildwoods end of their, what I'll call their bar district. That started on Memorial Day weekend. Unfortunately, the decision was made by the trolley company, the jitney service, to suspend Sunday through Thursday's rides and only go Fridays and Saturdays. So that's going to be starting at 6 o'clock at night to 2:30 in the morning. So if you want to catch the jitney service, and it's funny because I was on the conference call with them yesterday. They said the Crest uses it, and a lot of our year-round residents have used it and have raved about having the ability to go to Ocean Avenue, Atlantic Avenue, and get down to the boardwalk and to the bar district. So, but it's only going to be on Fridays and Saturdays now from 6 to 2:30. I also want to just remind everyone they're calling for some record high craziness with the heat. Drink lots of fluids, stay in the air conditioning if you need to. Keep an eye on anyone that could potentially be affected by the high heat. And lastly, I want to wish two local young residents, Nick Holland and James Gruhl. They are tackling Ironman Lake Placid this coming Sunday, representing the Crest as part of our wellness program. Good luck to those gentlemen. It's a 2.4 swim, 112 on the bike, and a 26.2 marathon. Good luck. That's all my comments.
Fabulous.
All right.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm going to disconnect.